Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I'm in the greenhouse and this is actually the first time that I'm starting some seeds. So I thought I would bring you along and tell you some basic seed starting tips and also give you some ideas of things that you can start seeds in. So first, let's talk about things that you can start seeds in. You can go to any big box store and buy the seed starting kit. Sometimes it'll have the little pellets in it where you just add hot water and that will come to life and you can put your seeds in. It usually has a top to go over it. Or if you're like me and you're old school, you just sort of use what you have. And in my case, I reuse a lot of stuff. Just make sure that you rinse it maybe with a little bit of bleach in your water to kill anything that could be hanging around that doesn't need to be there. And then another thing that you can do is save your containers, like from the deli. This is a little container that I have, and I want to plant some larkspur. And these seeds are just tiny, 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 so this will be the perfect place to start my larkspur. Now, another seed that I want to plant today is a sunflower, and so I'm going to use a bigger, deeper tray for that. And I wanted to also mention that the reason I'm growing sunflowers this year, that is the flower for the Ukraine and in support of the Ukraine people in their war. I want to grow sunflowers. So let's get started with some other things. You're familiar with a toilet paper or a paper towel roll. These are so easy to grow in with the toilet paper. Cut it in two and you have a perfect little seed starting. If I were going to use this, I would probably maybe plant, I want to do some tomatoes, some little tomato tomatoes. So this would be perfect for these. Another thing that I have enjoyed is you can make your own seed holders out of newspapers. And you just wrap this around this little wooden thing here. Crunch up your bottom good. It comes with a base. And voila, the perfect little seed starter. And you can put this directly in the ground. I have also seen people use eggs. I've seen them use egg cartons. And if you're really wanting to engage your children and get them interested, you can put a bean seed in a Ziploc bag with some soil and just pin it up on the wall where it would get sun, but your children can actually watch the seeds begin to form. And you know, I think when children can see the magic of a seed, a tiny, tiny seed becomes a beautiful flower or a vegetable, that just sparks their interest. And once they fall in love with flowers and starting seeds and gathering seeds, they're hooked for life. So we've gone over some things that you can start your seeds in. So what do you need to use? Well, you want to start with a seed starting potting mix. And to start your seeds, you don't necessarily want to use soil or potting soil. It's just, this is a little bit lighter. And this will be easier for your seeds to germinate and take root. So you always pre-moisten your soil before you put it in your, whatever you're going to be potting your seeds up in. And I don't usually wear gloves, but I'm going to just because we're videotaping this and I want to have clean hands. This is just This is very, very light. It's straight out of the bag. So you see what it looks like now. We're just gonna take some water and pre-moisten this. And we wanna have the consistency that you can pick this up. There's no water running out of it, but it holds together. So when you are starting seeds, one of the most important things that we need to remember is that we want to keep our soil not wet, not drowning, not dripping, but moist. The seeds need the moisture in order to germinate. So we can see that is staying together fairly good. It's actually a little bit too wet. I'm gonna add a couple more handfuls. Just get it mixed up good. That is the right consistency right there. Water's not running out of it, yet it'll stay formed. So I did poke some holes in the bottom of this for drainage, and I am going to just fill this with my pre-moistened soil. What I want to do is get the air pockets out. So let's just put just a little bit more in there. All right, so we've got that just about right. Now, the larkspur is a small seed. So what I'm going to do, they are tiny and they are also the same color as the soil. So I'm going to get this up where I can see it. I don't know if you all can see it, but I want to just sprinkle the larkspur seed over this, just like that. Now, I will have to thin these, and I will also probably pot them before I put them directly in the garden. But the next thing that I want to do for this is put something called vermiculite. I am going to put this vermiculite over the top of this. There we go. The next thing I'm going to do, I have just a spray bottle of water. Get this started. Whoops. Okay, there we go. So we know our seeds are tiny, so I'm just going to very gently spray this with water. When you are starting seeds, obviously I will be leaving mine in the greenhouse. I will come out and check these twice a day, depending on where you have yours, if you're using grow lights, if you're using heat mats. But we have got that good and moistened, so that's ready to go. And I do have a top to put on it. So we will do that, and I am going to write what I planted, which is Larkspur, and today's date. So when you look back at the back of your seed packet, all this information that you need is on the back, and it says that in 10 to 15 days I should see this start to germinate. So 10 days from today I'll come out every day, I'll check it twice a day, make sure that it's moist, but then in 10 days the exciting part begins when you actually get to see your seeds. So the next thing that we are going to pot up are our sunflowers. And I have been soaking these sunflower seeds. Some of the seeds, like we planted our moonflowers earlier this year and we actually had to score the seed because that's such a hard seed. The sunflower is another one of the seeds that you want to soak. Now I just put these directly in water. They've been in there 3 or 4 hours, and that should do fine. You could also put them in a paper towel, a wet paper towel. Put the wet paper towel in a baggie, leave it like that, leave it overnight, just however you want to do yours. So we will just fill our tray that I showed you earlier. We're going to need some more soil. So we'll get that mixed up. To the right consistency. Now you want to go back, like I showed you earlier, and push your soil down in your containers to get those air pockets out. And this seed starting packet is deep enough that I won't have to transplant these like I will the larkspur. These will just go directly in the ground. And you don't have to get the exact same amount of dirt, but I like to just because it looks nicer. So I'm gonna play around with that just a little bit. So the next thing I am going to do is I want to make a hole for my seeds. Just going to take my Sharpie. I can wipe that off. So I'm making a hole for my seeds. And I'll have to put my glasses on for this part. These seeds are small. So I'll fish out my seeds, and I'm going to put 2 per hole. I hear an unhappy child in the neighborhood. I don't know if you all can hear that or not. And it looks like I'm gonna have some extra seeds, so you know, I think I may go back and put an extra one. It's not gonna hurt in each hole. I'd rather have too many than not enough. And you'll also notice there's a little bit of, it's called chaff and it's just trash basically where they harvested the sunflower seeds, so you don't want to get that planted. I've gone through and gotten all of my seeds out. The rest is just trash, like I said. So then you just go and you cover your hole back up. Make sure the air pockets are out. And I'll make a plant label for this. And then all I have to do is wait for it to germinate. And we will be growing sunflowers in solidarity with the people of the Ukraine. I hope this video has been helpful. I hope that everyone is getting excited about their upcoming garden, and every year I always evaluate things that went well, things that I liked, things that didn't go so well. And you know, sometimes things are just out of your control. And one of the changes that I had to make this year, I no longer am keeping chickens, and I really hated to give up my chickens. But I had a major surgery at the end of last year, and I knew that I was going to be restricted from lifting anything heavier than a gallon of milk, and those chicken feed bags weigh 40 pounds. So I no longer have my chickens, and then my koi pond, the liner was 24 years old. We put the koi pond in when my son was my oldest son was young, and I knew that I needed to either get that pulled out and replace. Some of the rocks under the liner were sinking, and so I made the decision to just take it completely out, and we're actually using that space as a fire pit, and it's working out fine. Another thing that I'm doing differently this year, I am having more cutting gardens. Last year, I had a wonderful time being able to take bouquet of flowers to people. And this year, I want to do more, and I want to have a longer growing season. So I am planning to have more flowers for cutting. And as a gardener, your gardens will change, they will evolve. Just like I told you, life situations will happen, but the springtime is always the time when we look forward. We've spent the winter planning and maybe reading and gathering information, and now it's time to get our hands dirty in the soil. And you hear the birds singing in the back, and it's just a wonderful time. And I'm glad that you've joined me today. I appreciate each and every one of you, and hope you have a blessed week.